Hi everybody. I said I'd record another critique example for you to look at. Now this is a pass. I can't quite recall exactly what mark it got, but you will, as we go through it, I will show you what this person has done and why they didn't achieve a higher mark, but why they did achieve a pass. So there are a few issues. Firstly, some structural issues which we'll talk about as we go through. So sometimes sentences could be just rewritten a little bit for clarity, but it's pretty clear. Sometimes we've got paragraphs with one sentence in it, and we would normally suggest to students that they would like to do three sentences at least in a paragraph to develop the idea that you have in that paragraph. And that's important. Another thing about this particular paper is that the student has used too many they've fallen into looking at the content more than looking at the structure. The purpose of doing a critique is to determine whether the study has been undertaken in a rigorous and robust manner and has followed an appropriate research methodology or method, and that they have come up with an appropriate sort of set of results or findings for the topic, and that there is a way in which it could be implemented. Okay, you're not really commenting on whether it's important to do a study. In this case, it's about severe people with severe mental health illness. Sorry, the study's there, so you're not really commenting on whether that's important to be done. What you're commenting on is, was it well done? Okay, so you're not commenting on what sort of things are important in that content area. And as we go through, I'll show you. So the person started off okay with their introduction. They have said it's a qualitative ethnographic study, and the study is here, right at the beginning there. It comes from the Journal of Advanced Nursing, and it's by Roberts and Bailey. So this sort of an introductory statement, that's good. They then go on, and in fact, again, two sentences here. They could add this paragraph into that, because it's a reasonable thing to start off with a sentence or two to introduce your topic. So effectively, that that you're going to be critiquing a research article on blah, whatever it is, and you just have an opening sentence about the content. You don't need a lot about the content. You then need to tell us how you're going to proceed with that. So, they've said a review of other literature related to this topic will also allow for careful analysis. Now, here's a trap for young players. You will be looking at other literature in the area to determine whether their literature review was well done, but you are not writing a literature review in this assignment. Okay, so that is important for you to remember. All right. The student then goes on and says this assignment will also explore the structure with its key components, assess for accuracy and relevance, and evaluate whether it's a useful piece of research to implement into practice. So that's quite a good paragraph. Again, a little too short. We've got a lot of where all these paragraphs could have been run together, or you could have at least had these two run together. And in fact, you could have this condensed, these three paragraphs that we have condensed to basically have an opening sentence and then something that says research is important. It's because if we don't have evidence, it's difficult to make good clinical decision making. What this assignment will do is look at the rigor and robustness of the research process. Blah. So you could really do that quite quickly. So they've then gone on and given a nice definition about why research in nursing is important. Great, that's terrific of that, terrific. All right, then they go on and talk about why you should use best evidence. And again, this is the sort of thing that they've got 2 sentences in that paragraph and 1 sentence is that in that paragraph. Again, they could run that together. Okay, that would be reasonable because the idea, what they're actually looking at in both of these paragraphs is whether research in nursing is important, and they're saying yes it is, and this article, you know, we're going to look to see if this is best evidence. Now, we've got some issues with how the referencing has been done here, within here, and you'll note that. So here this would come out of brackets, and it would be Robertson Bailey, and there would be an apostrophe on the Baileys. I think it's Baileys as their. Let's have a look here. Right, Robertson Bailey. So when you put your apostrophe there, then you're going to put 2013 in the brackets, and then you'll go on and say, study is ethically sound and culturally safe. Now, this sentence is all very well, but there is no backup there. So they've made a statement, but we've only got the student's word that it is ethically sound and culturally safe, don't we? We don't really know that. So there's the sort of thing where you would need to maybe use an online reference, or if you've picked up an old text or something, you could use a textbook there, as long as you then need to go on and talk about ethics and culturally safe. I think if you want to make this sort of a statement, you would be better to talk about how this study has met ethical requirements first with references, and is culturally safe with references, and then go on and make that statement. But you have to have your evidence there, and I think otherwise you run into trouble with a statement like that. Okay. So they've then gone on to talk about the methodology. So it's interesting, we have a paragraph with ethics and cultural safety in it, and then we go on and talk about effectively the methodology in the same paragraph. So they are 2 separate ideas, and that's what I want you to think about, that that there is a little bit of this paper could have been edited slightly better and stepped out a bit better here. Okay, so we don't need to have those 2 things in the one paragraph. Now, here's where this person starts to fall into the content. All of this stuff that I've highlighted here is the content of that, and it comes directly from the article and from other pieces of literature in the area. Now, what they did fall into the idea of doing the literature review. What they could have done is still looked at the same literature and made a statement here that they could have said other studies that explore the experience of people who have severe mental illness also find that the cardiovascular, liver, renal, metabolic are an issue, and just put Scott and Hapner or whatever. All right, so you don't. That's really just a sentence. What you're trying to demonstrate is you've read other literature to see whether their literature review in the article is good. Okay, so then you would make a statement saying, the Robertson Bailey's introduction and background has been well written and includes a lot of other evidence that that is prominent in the area, and and you then would say, and the literature review in the article is appropriate for to set up the study. So that's the sort of thing we're looking for. Not really anything about this sort of stuff. You might make one sentence demonstrating that you've read some other stuff to see if this is a good literature review, but then you need to go into it and say it's a good literature review, basically. Now, we then have got quite a bit on. We then come back to the methodology. Okay, and they're looking at the sampling. So this tells us here, the data collection tool. So they're actually using semi-structured interviews. Okay, now what I need to know here is this appropriate for this type of study? So is it really appropriate? It is a reliable piece of research, isn't it? Blah, blah, blah. There's no evidence for that. We do not know whether they should be having some other types of data collection techniques undertaken, because that is not evident. All right. So now, this sort of statement here is exactly what we needed. Okay, title, great. Commenting on the title, exactly what we want. So all of this writing that we've got for pages up here, not what we want. Here, this is good. Congruent with what is being discussed. Then it goes on and tells us literature review is scant, doesn't allow the, great, that's terrific. That's the sort of comment we need here, right? Now, they go on and talk about the number of participants. They haven't talked about whether the research method is appropriate for what they want to look at, and that's important for you to think about there. Now they've gone on to talk about the number of participants, and and here they would need to be looking back at the type of methodology that was used, and why they wouldn't be only getting many people returning the invitations here. Okay, that's a comment, and we're going to talk about that through the session. As we go down, again, I'm talking about the participants, and again, given that we're all talking about participants in these paragraphs, they could be joined together. Okay, they then go on and talk about data collection and how they've done that. They are then not talking about whether it would be appropriate for ethnography. All right, so that's what they needed to do. Here they talk about ethics, and they've made a nice statement here about, we didn't get to, the article doesn't say where the ethics committee is. It's important to do that though. And then they've got this statement saying it's from Lanarkshire there. So that's important to have a think about. Again, this is ethics, and that sort of statement is reasonable. Okay, and they are using this sort of appropriate sort of statements here. Okay, then they go on, and this is there's a bit of content. So there's a bit of content stuff. We need to find the findings. Again, content. The Barrett. So they're talking about the content stuff. We want to get off the content stuff. Okay. So they don't really address the content stuff. They do address content, but not the structure and whether it's able to be implemented, this particular research. Now, they haven't started their references on a new page, and this article was not referenced itself. So while this is a pass, there are some issues with this particular paper, and they would get quite a few comments throughout talking about how they would want them, or I would want them to look at that. So it's a pass, but it's not going to achieve a higher mark. And I hope this has been useful for you.